to our Twitter account, and you can find those there as well as our website, newsnowfox.com, and that's, lists all of our streaming platform partners and lets you know where you can find us. So, in the meantime, though, we want to take it out now to Austin, Texas, where we're going to talk to one of our affiliate reporters there, Rudy Koski, about some of this interesting fever. It's called the Cedar Fever, and kind of how it's either similar or different from the coronavirus. And, Rudy, how can people tell if they have one or the other? Are the symptoms similar?
Hi, Andrew. Yeah, we have some similarities within this this dynamic called Cedar Fever. What we have is we have a lot of juniper trees in the central Texas area, and this time of year, those trees start blooming and releasing pollen into the air, and that pollen becomes a huge irritant. If you live in the southeast, it's hay fever, ragweed. Here in central Texas, it's cedar fever. It's the release of the cedar pollen from the cedar pollen trees, the trees that we have in this area. And so let me read off just some of these symptoms that we have for cedar fever symptoms: runny nose, itching, watery eyes, nasal blockage, sneezing, mild headache, facial discomfort, sore throat, ear clogging. And here's the catch: fatigue, partial loss of smell, and a slight fever. Now, that slight fever is not because of cedar fever causing the fever, but the inflammation of your sinus cavities that can lead to an infection that can spark a fever. Bottom line, if you have it, you feel terrible. It's like the flu, and it mimics some of those symptoms, specifically fatigue, loss of smell, and the slight fever of COVID-19. And we're starting to enter into the cedar fever season here in central Texas, and health officials want folks to understand that, we're aware of that, we know that, but we're focused in on COVID-19 and the hospital capacity impact that's having. But they're also a little concerned that people will overreact, panic, and start saying, hey, I have the symptoms. Is this COVID-19? And they rush off to the medical clinic or to the hospital, and then they start creating a backlog there. And state officials and local officials here, health officials here, say, don't panic. Make your first default thinking, especially this time of year, being the allergy. Go get some over-the-counter medication. Take that, and you should immediately feel some type of relief. If not, then we start getting into the COVID-19 protocols. But it is an interesting dynamic that we have here in central Texas with Cedar Fever, and also this new dynamic of how it could play in and factor into hospital capacity here in our area.
And Rudy, you mentioned kind of, what medical personnel and medical officials there in the region are telling people. But, if you come into maybe an urgent care or doctor's office and you have these symptoms, are they going to tell you essentially to leave and maybe go to your pharmacy or get something over the counter? Is that what they're kind of advising right now to people who may think this is COVID, but it's really just cedar fever?
Yeah, the advice that I've heard today and talking to individuals today was that call your doctor first. Don't go to the clinic, call your doctor, tell them what your conditions are, what's happening, and then they'll make a recommendation as to whether or not they want you to come in or to take a COVID-19 test. That's part of the protocol when they come in. And a lot of times with a lot of these medical clinics, that's what's going to happen anyway when you first come in, regardless of your medical condition, is that you're going to go and get that basic screening in place, the temperature being a huge red flag. And then the other symptoms for COVID-19 that are red flags are the gastrointestinal problems that come along with that, vomiting. Certainly you're not going to have that with cedar fever, but it's that initial aspect of fatigue, the initial aspect of the fever that's related to the inflammation that cedar fever can give you that has everyone's concern. Let me rattle off some numbers for you real quick in regards to why this is a story right now. Here in Texas, there are just over 9,000 patients hospitalized with COVID-19. There's a little more than 11,000 available hospital beds statewide in the state of Texas. And the big concern is that more than 2,600 people right now are in a Texas ICU bed. That's statewide, 2,600 people. And there are less than 700 ICU beds available. So if we get some type of cedar fever panic or cold and flu panic that happens over the next month or so, that could really impact bed availability in regards to individuals saying, I'm I'm sick, I want to be hospitalized. And so officials saying, don't panic, slow down. It may be just the Cedar Fever season. Unfortunately, our season here in Central Texas runs from late December through January into parts of February. So, and some folks don't get Cedar Fever for years. They lived here for 5-10 years, don't get it, and then year 11 or year 6, wham, it hits you.
And Rudy, just lastly for you, I noticed you're outside or on your back patio or something. You're outside, and this is airborne. Transmission is airborne. Is that correct? With the Cedar Fever, the pollen in the air, that's how someone would get it. Much like the coronavirus, those particles are airborne as well. Just to tie up that here for us.
Yeah, right now, the nose knows. My nose has been tingling because the pollen has just started in the air. At the peak of the season, the trees blow up in yellow puffs of smoke, and you see it into the air, and it becomes a hazy, ugly yellow color in the air, and you know it's here.
All right, Fox 7's Rudy Koski for us there. Thank you so much for this interesting angle on the coronavirus. And, if you might be having symptoms, it could be Cedar Fever. So, thanks so much, Rudy. Appreciate it. All right, and I'm Andrew Kraft. We want to thank everyone for watching. We're in the bottom half of the hour here, 4:30 in Phoenix, Arizona. We have a lot of great content coming up in the next couple of hours. Daytona Everett and I will be doing our political top talker for all the top stories in the political rundown for today. Don't want to miss that. We have a great segment coming up later tonight about that Facebook lawsuit you might have seen by a lot of those attorneys general in states who are suing Facebook, and they want to break up Facebook. They think it's anti-competitive. So we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about a lot of politics, election news still ongoing as well. Just 5 more days until the Electoral College meets. But in the meantime, we're going to take a quick commercial break. So we'll see you back here in 2 minutes on News Now from Fox. And welcome back. And remember, everything here on News Now from Fox, we have it live and raw and unfiltered.